So, David, it's been an absolute pleasure having a debate with you on this particular topic again. Do we have any conclusions?
Um, yes, I think so. 2020 so far, and I don't see any reason for it to change. It's been quite a roller coaster, hasn't it? It's been unexpected, and in many sectors, it's been painful, hasn't it? And there've been some changes, and some of these changes, as you were saying earlier, are kind of permanent. Employers are realizing that their second, well, they always knew their second biggest cost is those square meters, and this is going to be looked at very carefully now. Some very big employers, including a big financial firm in Northampton, just down the road from you, have said there are no immediate plans to go back into their enormous corporate HQ.
And
Also,
NatWest's the same as well. So they're
yeah,
not the only ones. All of the major financial institutions seem to be. And today, this is recorded on the 8th of September, there is a meeting of some of the country's largest employers, insurers, and banks who are all discussing and debating how to try and encourage staff back into the office, but also how to do so while socially distancing so that they don't get sued by their employees for packing them too densely like battery hen chickens. So, sorry,
that's an
David, we
extraordinary
were
thing.
doing a conclusion there and I go off on one on you. So,
Uh, I know that a lot of jobs as well are very unlikely to ever go back into those offices, like the firms where you pick up the phone and you talk to somebody. Well, that might as well be somebody in their living room. And since they've now been doing that for 6 months or more, it would be hard to justify going back into those offices at all, apart from once a month or something, which you could do in a cafe, really having sort of FaceTime, and even that you can do on Zoom.
yeah, well, business travel, as we said in the earlier part of this video, is also under scrutiny because businesses are saying, well, we've done everything by Zoom. Why are we spending all that money on flights? Unproductive time, sat in airport lounges, unproductive time. Don't want to be away from the family, or perhaps do want to be away from the family. Other families do exist. So there is big change going on. But this is opportunities for people to repurpose the buildings. And the government statement was, let the market decide, wasn't it, David, as to what purpose the building should be used for? Residential, commercial, shop, office, restaurant. That's why they've reviewed the planning classes, and that's why we've got a series of videos on that down below.
And I think that's a very smart move on the part of government, isn't it, really? Because they recognise that, you can't hold back the dam forever with just your kind of finger in the dike or whatever, as the saying goes. And why not let the tide of market forces, take the market to its new stable place quite quickly? I mean, we saw in Japan, didn't we? We saw zombie companies going in the 1980s, many years past their sell by date. And if we don't let that happen here, then we become leaner and meaner in the years to come.
Totally. And I think that's what we should have been doing over the years. I think the process, and if anybody from government is watching, the CVA process, to me, it's illegal, it's immoral. I know it's in law that, yes, a company can put itself into a voluntary arrangement, but it's unethical. Come on, let's review that process and get rid of it, because it's harming property owners who can't afford it. If the business model of the business is so fragile that it needs a rent reduction, then the executives should start in that business by cutting their wages and bonuses. Off my hobby horse, David, sorry.
I think so. For our viewers who don't work in the financial sector, you might like to expand on that a bit, I think, if you don't mind.
Yeah, basically, what I'm saying there is if you're a commercial property owner and a business decides that it would like a rent reduction, it can basically put itself into a CVA process, a voluntary administration process, which enables a external firm, usually administrators, to negotiate on their behalf for changes in any contracts that they may have. Typically, one of the larger contracts they have is to do with their real estate. And what you've seen happen over the years with debenhams, as an example, is they've gone back to the landlords and said, give us 20% off the rent. If you don't, we'll pull out because we've put the company into administration, so we can walk away from that lease with no penalty, no dilapidations, no nothing. Therefore, it's a bit of a bully boy tactic to try and negotiate rent. But what you've seen, if you look back through Debenhams' history, I think it was 4 times Debenhams did CVAs. If it wasn't 4, it was 3. And each time they kept coming back. Nibble, 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 nibble. They wanted a 20% reduction. The final one was they wanted a 6-month rent-free holiday and a 50% rent reduction.
Well, I would have thought, as one of the uninitiated, that these measures were put into place to not to use as a sort of business model and to keep doing it and factor it in. Or 5 years time, all right, it's time for us to do this again. But just to help companies that are in genuine need. So that doesn't sound good
and
to me at all.
Genuine need because
right.
You've overgeared your company, you're overpaying your executives, you're paying too much out in dividends to your shareholders, you've taken on expensive debt. That's not the landlord's problem. Therefore, go do a jump. My approach to it is I would always decline politely any request, and I would rather put the property back to market. And usually I pick properties which have got more than one use, are in high demand areas, and can be converted to other uses. Therefore, it takes any pressure off me being in a corner that... David, I mean, there's a lot of what I'd call economic scarring going on here, where certain things, the COVID-19 will have scarred the economy permanently. It will have left a mark. Some jobs will never come back. Some industries have been decimated. New industries have been created, selling PPE, for example. But how do you sort of look at this? Is there a way we can summarise that?
In times of change, there are always casualties, but then, like a phoenix from the ashes, the new generation of stuff doing something completely different will come in to fill the void. So look at the railroads in America, the initial investors who paid for all that infrastructure, all those miles of track. Most of those guys lost their shirts, and yet trains are still operating. The dot-com boom, people poured enormous amounts of money into companies where I remember a firm called Boo.com, which had the most amazing tech, but folded because the market wasn't ready for it. Well, that tech is now kind of widely adopted. So I think sometimes it's time to, pruning the garden. You cut down all the plants and they grow back. So I think it's perhaps the economic equivalent of that.
Yeah, well, I remember another one, which was people who dug up the roads, buried fibre optic cable, and it was called fibre optic broadband. And then all of those operators slowly went bust, consolidated, got taken over, and now there's only one fibre optic operator owning all of that cable, which is Virgin.
That's right. Yes, absolutely.
It's a similar model. Times change. So, David, it's been a delight and a pleasure to discuss how and when the property prices will crash, and I think we've concluded that it's going to be Q1/2 of 2021, based upon all of the factors that we've covered in all of these little videos. So thank you for staying with us to the end. It's been a pleasure and a delight to share this with you. If you've liked it, please share it with a friend. If you haven't liked it, put a comment below and tell us why you didn't like it. Again, if you did like it, hit the thumbs up button for us. We love a bit of thumbs up juice. Always good. Google loves us as well then, and it will share it with other people. And finally, if you're not a subscriber, hit subscribe, because our next video that's coming out is why property prices are going to crash 40% in 2021. Look forward to seeing you there. It's thank you from me. I'm Andrew Roberts.
And thank you from me.
David Clouter. See you soon.